From the survey of approaches and methods presented in our course, we have seen that the history of language, that is, years have been characteristics in search of more effective ways of teaching second language. আমরা অনেক মেথডের কথা শুনেছি, অনেক মেথডের পড়েছি, ওকে। প্রথমত ডিরেক্ট গ্রামার ট্রান্সলেশন মেথড, তারপরে ডিরেক্ট মেথড, তারপরে অডিও লিঙ্গুয়াল মেথড, গ্রাজুয়ালি মেনি মেথডের কথা বলা হয়েছে। Approach is a set of belief and principles that can be used to the basis teaching language that follow the examples of the approach. Communicative language teaching approach. Competency-based instruction approach. Content-based instruction approach. Cooperative learning approach. Lexical approaches, multiple intelligences, natural approaches, neuro-linguistic programming, task-based language teaching, whole language learning. These are the all methods, approaches. পাশাপাশি আমরা কিছু মেথডের কথাও শিখেছি, শুনেছি। অডিও লিঙ্গুয়ালিজম, কাউন্সেলিং লার্নিং, situational language teaching, silent way, suggestipedia, total physical response. These are also the methods. Grammar translation method. So, in this method, so that if I ask you the question, and especially we can see that the question, which method is appropriate, that question, and which method can solve the language learning problem. That is, this provide adherent with a cohort group of like-minded teachers with whom they can share ideas and experience. Method can be seen as a resource activities, some of which can be adopted regardless of one's own ideology, like the PPP prescription, present, practice, and produce. So, অনেকে বলেছেন যে আসলে মেথড কোনোটাই হচ্ছে অ্যাপ্রোপ্রিয়েট এবং কোনোটাই আর সমস্ত স্কিল এর উপরে হচ্ছে ভালো না, এটা হচ্ছে একটু অনেকে বলছে। So, in post-method era, having the knowledge of several approaches and several methods, okay, the researcher and linguist offer several questions. What are the questions? What advantages does a new approach or method offer? Is it perceived to be more effective than current practices? How compatible is it with the teacher's existing beliefs and attitude, and with the organization and the practices with the classroom and the school? Many questions are there. Is this the new approach and method very complicated and difficult to understand or use? Has it been tested out in some schools, classroom, before teachers are expected to use it? Have the benefits of the new approach and methods been clearly communicated to the teachers and institution? How clear and practical is the new approach or method? So these are the practicality, the key issue, and the methodology that can readily be turned into technique, teaching materials, and textbook, which use require no specific training will generally. Okay, so we have the questions. So we are not getting new method at present, but the linguists, they are asking this question, whether this method is appropriate, whether this method is method fulfills the demands of the learners, the diversified learners. The many kinds of learners will have different necessities, so that is fulfill the demands. So such questions presents that we are in a post-method era. So in a post-method era, that means we are not getting new methods. We are not getting new approaches in second language learning. So this era is called post-method era. In this post-method era, uh, it is said that uh, that method is uh, no more applicable for learning second language quite efficient. Okay. So what do the linguists do at these things? So uh, in this, whenever the questions, we had been discussing the questions, that is, যখন আমাদের কোনো মেথড আমরা পাচ্ছি না, সরি, গেটিং স্টার্ট। ওকে, যখন আমরা এখন আমরা কোনো we are not getting new method, and for this reason linguists and researchers, they have many questions in their mind. Okay, what are the questions? That we are in a post method era, and which method can fulfill all the demands of the learners, all the demands of the different learners. Okay, and for this reason in post method era, some consideration will be so there we have to follow some uh, while approaches tend to follow for varying interpretation in practice, methods scientifically prescribe the teachers what to do and how to teach. What and how to teach. Teachers have to accept the fate and claim the theory of underlying the method applied in their own practices. Okay. So here, that is said, whenever we are in this question that which method is the appropriate one, তখন টিচাররা ফ্রি যে যেটা তারা মনে করছেন সেটা তারা করতে পারেন, so they are free. So in this regard, learners sometimes apply the principles correctly, and learners are sometimes viewed as the passive recipient of the method, must submit themselves to the regime of the exercise, and absent of the traditional view of the method is a concept of learner consent centered method. Okay, and teachers creativity and acknowledge. Okay, at least the same time there is open a little room for the teacher's own personal initiative and teaching style. The teachers must submit herself to the method. Okay, so there is a process that is thing that is, in that case, naturally in case of method we have to think some things, the role of contextual factors. So whenever we are in the post method era, we have to consult these factors in case of having a good method in a uh, uh, in a time that is in a post method era. We have to consider the these principles, that is the role of contextual factors. Both approach and methods are open, promoted all purposes. That means we have to uh, uh, consult the concept. So in post method era, linguists and the researcher, they say that before applying a method, it is the teacher's wishes that they will follow a method. But before following a method, they have to think about the context, in which context they are teaching a language. Okay. And in some academic culture, questions are allowed. In some academic culture, cooperation is allowed, group discussion is allowed, dialogues is allowed. Okay. So at first, in post-method era, teacher or the linguist, they have to think about the context, in which context they are teaching something. Okay. And After that, they have to think the uh, uh, curriculum planners. Naturally, in case of the curriculum, what happened in Bangladesh? Naturally, the curriculum that was developed by one person and that was implemented by the institution, that was implemented by the others, okay, the teachers, okay, and the academic institution. So curriculum planners view debates over teaching method as a part of a broader set of educational planning decisions. And this traditional involves the careful examination and drawing on the all available sources of knowledge and informed judgment. So the curriculum, in case of language teaching curriculum, we have to think these things that we have to examine carefully before implementing a curriculum, especially for second language teaching. Development and the trial use of the schools of this method. Previously, we in Bangladesh, we had a curriculum, okay, but that was not trial in the basis. And for this reason, that have a criticism. In case of post-method era, before implementing a curriculum regarding second language teaching, you have to have the trial. You have to have the piloting of that curriculum and the careful examination. The assessment of the extent to which the development work will be done. The final element is therefore feedback of all the experience gained that provide a starting point of the further study. And then we have also noticed that is in case of implementing the new method or language teaching methods, we see the lack of research. So we have to have research regarding second language learning and second language teaching. So research is very important. And there we have the underlying theory of a PPP approach has been described the belief that a precise focus on a particular form leads to the learning and automatization, and the learner will learn what is taught in order to which is taught. Okay, so the research will be there in case of learning scenario. That is the another focus in post method era. Okay, and then we see the another thing similarity in the classrooms. We have to another criticism is that it is very difficult for the teachers to use approaches and methods in ways that precisely reflect the underlying principles of the method. Okay, they say that one consistent problem is whether or not teachers involved in presenting materials created for a particular method are actually reflecting. Actually, we can give an example. আমরা GTM একসময় ফলো করতাম এবং GTM থেকে আমরা CLT-তে কমিউনিকেটিভ ল্যাঙ্গুয়েজ টিচিং এ আসলাম, কিন্তু দেখা যায় যে প্র্যাকটিক্যালি দ্য টিচার আর ইউজিং দ্য সেম ম্যাটেরিয়াল। আগে যেই ম্যাটেরিয়াল ব্যবহার করতেন সেই একই ম্যাটেরিয়াল ব্যবহার করছেন, শুধু তাই না, আমরা সিমিলার প্র্যাকটিসও করছি। আমরা CLT-তে বলা হচ্ছে যে ইন্টারাকশন থাকতে হবে স্টুডেন্টদের মধ্যে, কিন্তু সেখানে আমরা সেটা করছি না, এই ওয়ান সাইডেড লেকচারই হয়তো বা দিয়ে যাচ্ছে। দ্যাট ইজ দ্য সিমিলারিটি অফ দ্য ক্লাসরুম প্র্যাকটিসেস। সেটাও অবজার্ভ করেছেন হচ্ছে ইয়েরা language linguists and teachers. Okay. So then we see beyond approaches and methods, what alternative approaches to the study of teaching are available outside the framework or brand name approaches and methods. We believe that because approaches and methods have played a central role in the development of our profession, it will continue to be useful for teachers and students to become familiar with the major teaching approaches and methods proposed in the second or foreign language collective approaches. Okay. So that is beyond an approach and methods. And in that case, to learn how to use different approaches and methods to understand when they might be useful, to understand some of the issues and controversies, to practice a language learning experience, to be aware of the risk set of activity, to appreciate how theory and practice can be linked from a variety of practices. Okay, apart from the theory, we have to think this thing regarding approach and method. That is, we have to think whether this is appropriate or not, whether it will be applicable in our context or not. Okay. So in developing a personal approach on teaching, a primary reference point for the teacher is his or her personal belief and principles with regard to the following. His, his or her role in the classroom. Okay, so we have, we are in the era, that is the post-method era. No method can fulfill all our demands. And for this reason, we have to apply our own personal method, keeping in mind that uh, that should be, the curriculum should be developed well. There should be the research, and there should be the goals, and there should be the uh, contextual application, whether that method will be applicable or not. And in this regard, the teachers will have some belief, that what is the belief, his or her role in the classroom, the nature of effective teaching and learning, the difficulties learners face and how this can be addressed, successful learning activities, and the structure of an effective lesson. Actually, these things are not related to any method, but in the post-method era, this principle requires that before going to apply a method, before going to apply an approach, the teacher should think this question, whether it is contextual, whether it will be appropriate or not, whether it will raise some challenges or criticism or not. Okay, and understanding this all things, whatever method you can follow, you have to. That means the teachers, they have to keep this in these principles in this course method era. So in that case, if anybody said that what would be the principles of post-method era approach, in the post-method era, the principles will be engage all learners in the lesson. Whatever method we will follow. So engage all learners, make learners not the teacher, the focus of the lesson. Provide maximum opportunities for the student participation. Develop learners responsibility, that cooperative language learning এর ক্ষেত্রে হচ্ছে যে learners responsibility will be there. Be tolerant of learners mistake, develop learners confidence, teach learning strategies, respond to learners difficulties and build on them, use a maximum amount of student to student activities, promote cooperation among learners, practice both accuracy and fluency. So address learners needs and interest. So if you see, these are the principles of post-method era approach. And these principles are not from one specific method. Rather, that is the combination of another method. So we can call that in post-method era, linguist teacher, they will follow what is necessary for the learners and how learners can be involved in interaction in the utmost. Okay, that can be the principle of post-method era. Okay, and uh, some other things are there. Okay, the most resilient of core teachers' belief are found on the basis. The teachers' belief will be there. If teachers actually try out the particular innovation and does not initially conform to the prior beliefs and principles, the innovation will prove helpful or successful. Okay, so teachers' belief will be there. Okay, so professional development and engage teachers in a direct explanation of their belief. The teachers' conceptualizations of, or for examples, language learning, the teachers' belief will be there in post-method era. Okay, so and then looking forward. Okay, so how do you, if we think that that is in the post-method era, is post-method era, when we feel, how do you feel the language teaching profession will move ahead in the near and even more distant future? The approaches and the methods surveyed in this book have identified number of issues and except of this there. Okay, so there is no method at this moment. So we will be the linguist, the language researcher, the teacher, they will be looking forward in a in the research and the development in educational theory and practice, the initiatives of changing programs and pedagogy may come from within the profession, from teachers, from administrators, from theoreticians and others. Okay, so uh, we have no method in post-method era, and we have no approach in post-method era, but in this post-method era approach, we have to consider something. We have to consider research in language teaching. We have to consider uh, uh, we have to consider the curriculum development. We have to consider some contextual basis. That means in which context you are teaching or you are teaching and applying that method or not. And in that case, you will try to, the teachers and the learners, the teachers, they will try to engage the students in the utmost way, whether it may be quite similar to a method or not, but they will try to involve the learners in the learning activities and uh, and encourage cooperation and participation, understanding the view of uh, understanding the needs and interest of the learners. Okay, so that is the uh, post method era. Okay, and in this regard, some key points will be there. Government's quality directives is necessary in post method era. Trends in the profession, crew-led innovation, there will be there. Okay, response to technology, that is the technological language learning will be there. Influences from academic disciplines, research influences, learner-based innovations, that would be the principles of cooperative language learning, post method era. Crossover educational trends, crossover from the disciplines. Okay, so that would be the aspects in post method era. Okay, so if we see that uh, what is the post method pedagogy, we have talked about that. What is the concept and what is the other things, okay, and regarding this whole language learning, okay, and also we are going to talk about neurolinguistics. So in this regard, we see the whole language learning, neurolinguistics, and other things are related to this. And also in the video clip, we have learned the 3P, that is uh, PPP, that is prescribed by Komaravedi Velu. That means possibility.
So is it also included in the post method era, silent way method?
Yes, and there are others method. That means keeping. What are the principles of this method era? If it is uh, if it is said that, then you have to keep these words. That is the curriculum development. That is the others. Okay, engaging the learners, government policy directives. So keeping this in mind, N.S. Prabhu, he has said that there is no method at present, and uh, for this reason, teacher will apply which method that will be applicable for a certain context. And in this regard, Kumara Veduvelu has come up with the idea of PPP, 3Ps. Okay. Again, some other researchers, they have come up with the other idea, that is the banking system, and some other neuro-linguistic learning, whole language learning. That is
Sir,
the
can you say please what is the full form of PPP?
PPP. That means we can say that is here Kumara Ellis. practicality, 1P. You can allow this.